Hey Boomers, Brian Tong here from Boomer Life. I wanted to touch base with you about something that's been coming up lately in my practice as a lawyer, and that is getting your affairs in order. It's something that people talk about, and it seems like lately I've been having a lot more people who have been kind of facing their own mortality and have come to me for advice about getting their affairs in order. That can mean many different things for many people. But what I commonly tell most people is try to avoid having to open an estate. And of course, if you have millions, then that's probably not going to be possible. But for the average person who basically has their home, their car, some savings, some insurance, and maybe a boat or some other stuff, but not exactly rolling in millions or have huge rental properties or lots of investment type things. Their estate is pretty simple. So they come to me and I say, listen, the first thing that you really need to do is to consider setting up your estate so that you don't need to open an estate, because once you file an estate in probate court, you're going to have a lawyer to do it. Lawyers usually get 5% of the total value of the estate as their pay. Plus there's a lot of costs involved and hassle. So what I typically tell people is if your main asset is your house, then we can do a quitclaim deed now where you quitclaim your house from you to you and a child, or to you and whoever your beneficiary is. So in other words, if you and your wife or you and your husband own a home, you sign a quitclaim deed that says from husband and wife to husband, wife, and child as joint tenants with right of survivorship. Then what happens is when you pass, your child automatically owns your home. The only thing they have to do is file a death certificate with the clerk records, and the child is the owner. The house doesn't have to pass through probate. It's all done. That way you maintain ownership. The child certainly can't sell it without your permission, but the child owns it when you die, and it passes automatically without any lawyers being involved or any estates. With regard to bank accounts, like your checking account, your savings account, what you can do there is put what we call a POD, or pay on death clause, on your bank account. My wife and I don't intermingle our funds, but I have a POD clause which says that my checking account and my savings account are both paid to her if anything should happen to me. And you can also make an alternative in there to a child. So that way, if you have a safe deposit box or checking account or savings account, you can put permission for those to be transferred upon your death to whoever you choose. With regard to investment accounts, such as IRAs, 401ks, those kinds of things, those you can all put beneficiaries on so that when you pass, they go to your beneficiaries directly and they don't have to pass through probate. Life insurance. One thing I'll tell you is as you get older, you start look at what you're paying into life insurance compared to what you're getting out of it, and the cash value slows in its increase. And at some point, you might consider what I did is I just cashed my life insurance in and put it in my investment account, because it wasn't gaining value as fast as it was costing me premium. So it was some 30-year-old whole life policy, and I just cashed it in and put it in my retirement account. So, and it's not like I've cheated my children out of their inheritance. My life insurance money, if I pass away, will still go to them as part of my investment portfolio. So no big deal. With regard to stuff that has titles, we're talking about planes, boats, autos, mobile homes, those types of things. They have titles, they don't have deeds. So you can sign the back of a title if your car is paid for and put it with your valuable papers, tell your daughter or son, here's where my title is when I go, It's already signed. All you got to do is buy it sign yourself as a buyer for $10 and record it, and the vehicle is yours. That's the easiest way to deal with that. You can do the same thing if you live in a retirement community where you own the mobile home but you don't own the lot. You can do the same thing with the title to your manufactured home or your mobile home, at least in Florida. Wills. People come to me for wills, and if you're going to dispose of your assets without probate, you don't really need a will. But if you want to make any specific bequests, say you want to give your diamond ring to your daughter and make sure that your other 4 kids don't fight over it or something, certainly then you put specific bequests like that in the will. Also, another good thing to put in your will is burial plans or cremation plans. If you want your body to be cremated and your ashes spread over Lake Tahoe, you need to put that in your will so that your kids know what your final wishes were. If you want to be buried, then typically most people who have that in mind will buy a burial plot before they die, or make some provision for that, designated in the will where they want to be buried and how. But beyond that, if you're going to have your assets transferred and effectively transferred before you die, you don't really need a will. But I would recommend a living will. A living will is the one that tells the hospital to not put you on life support or extraordinary measures. You don't want to be ventilated once you're brain dead, for example. So if you're in a coma, there's no brain activity, you certainly don't want to be kept alive. That's a good way for the hospital to drain what little there is left in your estate by keeping you alive after your brain is dead. So a living will prevent that. You also may want to do a healthcare surrogate. A healthcare surrogate can designate one of your children or your spouse or your best friend or someone to make health decisions if you're not able to. That's in a situation where you're not on life support, but you're either not in the right mind or not able to speak, or for whatever reason you're not able to decide on medical decisions, then you might want to have a healthcare surrogate. Power of attorney is another document that you can do, which gives your trusted people, whether it's children or neighbors or whoever, the power to transact business for you if you become incapacitated, either mentally or physically. And a power of attorney can give them the power to transact business, real estate, banking, whatever. Just make sure it's someone that you trust implicitly. And also be aware that a power of attorney expires when you die. So I just came across this issue recently. A friend of mine's father passed away. He had a power of attorney. He went to the father's bank to open his safe deposit box, and they wouldn't let him because they wanted a court order, and he didn't make a pay on death clause with regard to his safety deposit box while he was alive. So we're going to have to jump through some hoops and get an order entered to allow him to get into the safety deposit box, and there might not be anything in there he doesn't even know. And the last question I want to talk to you about is Social Security. When do you take it? You know, you're eligible at 62. Full Social Security kicks in at 66 or 67, and then maxes out at 70. Basically, I think if you think you may not make it to 70 based upon the history of your family, then you might ought to start collecting it at 62. If you think you're going to make it to 80, then I would wait to 66 to get full retirement benefits. And if you think you might see 90, then wait until you're 70 if you have enough money to get along without it in the meantime. So that's my boomer advice today based upon the stuff that's come across my desk this week. Keep your head up, be happy, healthy, and relevant, and I'll see you on the next video. Blue skies, boomer life. Bye-bye.